Hey, what's up? My name is Nelson, and today I'm talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. I know it's been a really long time since I've uploaded, but I've been real busy with life and stuff, so haven't had a chance to. But Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and I've been waiting for this movie for a really long time, and I really wanted to talk about it. And now that I'm moved into my house and stuff, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos. I've been waiting for my Wi-Fi to come in, and that's really why I haven't been able to do anything lately. This movie, though, I honestly, get into Tom Holland, man. He did so well in this movie. I really feel like he's come into his own as an actor. This is his best outing as the character. His emotional beats and like the quippiness of Spider-Man. And when he gets angry in the movie, he plays this role so well, and he has just become one of the greatest superheroes I've ever seen on the big screen, and I really love him as Spider-Man. It's just he's going from this kid who just really wanted to be an Avenger to understanding what being a hero is to this, and they've just done so well. And with all three of these movies, spoiler warning, this is one of the best superhero trilogies I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, it's amazing. I love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man better, and I love his trilogy, don't get me wrong, but this is the better trilogy. This is the best, arguably the best superhero trilogy of all time. And then you got Zendaya and Jacob Batalon. They were so great in this, and I really love Zendaya as MJ. This one, she really came into her own in this one, and the chemistry between Tom Holland and Zendaya is just really great. But yeah, I love their chemistry so much, and it really worked in this one a lot. And she is just such an amazing actress, and so beautiful. Jacob Batalon, though, he's a really good friend. Probably my favorite out of all the Spider-Man friends. And I just love the relationship between him and Peter, and I love in this one how they really had a job to do in this movie to help Peter out with the situation, with all the villains from the other universes being there, and just trying to figure out what to do and all that. So I think they did really well just bringing them in and giving them more to do other than just being Peter's friends. Benedict Cumberbatch was awesome as Doctor Strange. As always, he was really good, and just him and Peter together, it was like they picked up where they started at for Infinity War with the funny banner between the two and all that. It really worked all throughout this movie. The action in this movie, I mean, I knew Peter was going to have to do, with William Dafoe's Green Goblin coming back in, I knew that there was going to have to be some hand-to-hand combat and stuff. This is the most brutal MCU movie that we've ever gotten. I mean, it is brutal, the hand-to-hand combat. I mean, there's a scene where they're fighting in an apartment building, and they both have super strength, so they are just like Peter's swinging his web up into the top of the building or up to the top of the ceiling, and he's just slamming Green Goblin down to the ground, and then he's going down there, and they're both going through floor to floor, and it was just brutal, just the hand-to-hand combat fighting in this, and the fight choreography was really amazing in this. A lot of times these superhero movies have a hard time with hand-to-hand combat, and it was really done well in this, because obviously with two super-powered humans, they're gonna have great hand-to-hand combat, and it was done so well in this film. All the supervillains coming back again, all of them picked up from where they came from. It all seemed like that was them. There was no gap. They all acted perfect. just perfectly, just the way they were acting before, and it was just done so well again, and just really, really amazing. And it was really cool for me being in a crowd full of people. I mean, I had over 150 people in the theater where I went and saw it, and it was really, really cool hearing them scream when all the villains came in, and their introductions were awesome. I mean, just you know, I just saw Spider-Man 2 just so I could see Doc Ock again, and I saw Spider-Man, and just when Doc Ock shows up, you hear that like doom, and it's, you know, and it starts shaking and doom, and then, you know, you hear that, and Peter's like, what's happening, and he can sense something's happening. Really, really cool introductions, and then you just hear the laugh. You see it in the trailer. You hear the laugh. You see the Goblin Bomb and the Pumpkin Bomb, and it's just really, really awesome introductions of all the characters. Electro was a really awesome introduction, and Jamie Foxx, he was right back to being that character, being that, you know, goofy, you know, insecure character, and he played it so well. Don't know how he got all his hair back, but doesn't matter. We don't need a bald Jamie Foxx. But and then to get to the spider sense, this is the best depiction in a Spider-Man movie of the spider sense. You really go into Peter's mind and you hear what he hears. And I thought that was amazing. You hear all the little things he hears, and like when he's trying to figure out what is giving him the sense of what is coming. And really, really cool. And it really made you understand how Peter feels when he gets those spider senses. It's really, really cool. I don't have very much negatives, as you can see, but I have a couple. I mean, obviously, everyone is saying about too much, you know, fan service with the villains coming back and all that, and it was just like I didn't care. I mean, for me, it was like for, you know, once a studio's listening to their fans, getting what they want, and God forbid, you know, and like I get it, I get the criticisms, whatever, and for me, the one thing that I did not like in this movie, I didn't like what they did with the Happy character. I mean, he was kind of just crying about him and Aunt May not being together, and it was kind of just made him a joke. And I didn't really like that. That was very uncharacteristic of him. I mean, I get they were trying to joke around and stuff, but it didn't land for me, and I was kind of like, what? When he was, like, starting to, you know. But that stuff is not that big of a deal to me. This movie was really, really good. And now I kind of want to get into a little bit of spoiler talk. Spoiler warning, I'm about to give away some of the stuff that happened in this film. Well, first off, we'll go to Aunt May's death. And this death, it hit me so hard when she died, and like Tom Holland, the way Tom Holland took it, it was definitely one of the saddest Peter Park, you know, deaths of somebody, and he did so well. I mean, it was saddest since when Gwen Stacy died in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, it was just as sad almost, and it really hit me, and I was just like, whoa, when it happened, and just the anger he had because the Green Goblin killed her. It was just really, really well done. And he was just like, you know, like, I want to kill him and all that. And also the fact that Matt Murdock showed up only for a second, but it was really awesome to see him show up, and when he caught that brick and everything, and they were like, how did you do that? And he was like, I'm a really good lawyer. And I thought that was really, really cool introduction to the broader MCU for the Daredevil. I want to talk about the other two Spider-Mans being in this. This was so awesome to see all these characters going. And man, when all these characters coming back, and when they came into the theater, when they came back, and my theater was just, I thought the roof was going to pop off my theater when they showed up. You see, Ned throughout the movie, he has Doctor Strange's ring, and, you know, to open up the portal and slip ring, and, you know, Peter puts him in a different hanging from Webb in a different area, at the Grand Canyon. He leaves them there after their fight, because they have a fight in the beginning, which was an awesome fight, by the way. I didn't even add that in my spoiler-free. Awesome fight when he was trying to get the box back. And, but just them showing up and them trying to find Peter, they're like, find Peter Parker, and you see Andrew Garfield's big white Spider-Man eyes, and I was just like, yes, we got Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. He pops in and he's back to himself again, being this quippy Spider-Man with an attitude and all that. He just went right back into it, and I really thought that was a really cool introduction. And then they, they're trying to get Tom Holland's Spider-Man back, and they ask for Peter again, and there's Tobey Maguire, and it was so awesome seeing the two, and they shoot webs at each other, and they're like, oh, we're the same person. All right, this is weird. And I thought it was really, really cool how they did it, and just their introduction, and then them figuring out, okay, we can't get Peter back with the portal. We'll have to, where would he be? They talk to each other, and the two Peters are talking, and they're like, well, I have the Empire State Building, and oh, that's a great place. And they're like, well, where would Peter go? And MJ's like, I think I know where he'd be, right after Aunt May's death, and the rain is falling down, and you just see Peter, and it's just such a sad moment. He's just sitting there, and he's just mortified. He's just completely lost and doesn't know what to do. And MJ and Ned come up, and they, trying not to get choked up talking about it, and they hug him, and it's such a good moment, and he's just crying. I'm like, just Tom Holland in this movie. He did so well with the emotional beats. And then they're like, we have somebody that wants to talk to you. And he looks up and he sees there's two of me, and he's like, I gotta get you guys back, and we gotta get you guys out of here. And they're like, well, he's like, I don't care, press the button, and there's a little button on the box that takes all of them back to their universe, to their deaths. And he's like, I don't care anymore about them. He was basically like, I don't care. And so he's like, they all start talking, and they're like, we understand, but they tell Peter, we understand what you're going through, and he's like, don't tell me you understand what I'm going through. And he's like, I just lost my Aunt May. And they're like, well, we lost people too. I remember when I lost Uncle Ben, Toby said, and I was right back to that emotionalness and just feeling that and remembering it. And then it gets to Andrew Garfield, and he talks about how he lost someone too, and he's talking about Glenn and Uncle Ben, and he's like, and I got angry, and he's like, and I lost myself in anger, and he's like, and I did some things that were really dark that I didn't want to do. And just hearing him say that, I want to see that movie, by the way. No, please, Sony. But yes, bring him back, and I want to see that time. But but and he's like, I want to kill him. I want to kill the Green Goblin. I want to break him apart, pull him apart, and just kill him. And they're like, you can't do that. And they both have with great power comes great responsibility. And they were like, oh, well, my uncle said that, Andrew Garfield says, and he's like, well, Aunt May just said that to me. And it kind of clicks, and they're like, okay, we got to finish what we were doing. And Peter, the whole entire movie, he's trying to get them back to their time without killing them, because he knows they're going to go back and die fighting Spider-Man, and he doesn't want to feel responsible. He doesn't want to be responsible for that. So they go back onto their mission, and they're trying to do what they got to do. And right before the fight, they're all trying to figure out what to do, and they're all like being all, because they're all geniuses. They're all obviously Peter Parker, and they're all trying to figure out what they're going to do, and they're in the lab and stuff, and they're trying to make all this stuff, and they figure out that Toby doesn't have web shooters, and they're like, well, we have, need some cartridges before we go out and fight, and but they all make this concoction to stabilize all their powers so they can send them back. They make Doc Ock a real thing for the back of his neck so he can control the arms, and they make a serum for Green Goblin so he can, so he can control the other side of him and all that. It was just really cool moment watching them all do their thing and just them all interacting together. And there's a little line in there right before they go out and fight, and where Andrew Garfield asks Tobey Maguire, he says, because he's not wearing his Spider-Man suit, and he's like, "Are you going to go out and fight crime and looking like a youth pastor?" And it was just like a really funny moment, and I was like, "Whoa, there's a lot of quippiness going on." Spider-Man quippiness. And when they fight, it is just like quippiness overload. And it was just really cool how in the beginning of their fight they couldn't figure out how to fight together, and they're like, "I've never fought with a team before." And Peter's like, our Peter, Tom Holland's like, "Well, I've fought with a team. I'm not going to try to brag, but I'm an Avenger." And he's like, and they're like, and Tobey Maguire's like, "Oh, that's awesome. What is that?" He's like, "You don't know what an Avenger is? There's no Avengers in our universe," and it's like, wow, there's no Avengers in their universe. It's crazy. It's cool that they didn't be like, "Oh, well, yeah, there is Avengers in our universe," but there was, because we never saw them in the movies. I like that they didn't just go with that, But, and another thing with all the Spider-Man being there, I really liked that it didn't overshadow Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He still very much was the leader of the three Spider-Men, and it was very much still his movie. And that was done so well. And the little jokes, they added with they were all talking about what they fought, and Peter was like, "Well, what villains have you guys fought?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, I fought the Green Goblin, and you've seen some of our villains." And he's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Well," Peter's like, "Well, I fought an alien, and I actually went up to outer space." And Tobey Maguire's like, "I never went up to outer space, but I did fight an alien, and a black gooey alien." And he's like, "Well," and then Andrew Garfield's like, "I'm boring. I fought a guy in a giant rhino robot suit." And he's like, "I'm boring." And they're like, and Tobey Maguire's like, "Don't talk about yourself like that. You are me." He's like, "You're amazing." He's like, "You're amazing." He's like, you are amazing. And he's like, "I want you to say it. Say it, you're amazing." And I was like, it's really funny. It was just such a funny moment, man. Just the awesome chemistry between all three was amazing. The whole fight at the end was really, really awesome. And I really had to get into spoilers. The movie's been out for a few days. Obviously I put up the spoiler warning, but Peter finally catching up with Green Goblin during the fight. They stabilize the Lizard, they stabilize Electro, and he gets down to the Green Goblin. The sun starts coming up. It's really beautiful scenery. But he gets up there, and he wants to kill him, and they start hand-to-hand combat. But Peter gets the edge on him and just starts beating the shit out of him, and it just bam, bam, and he's just going and going and going, and the other Spider-Men see him, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta stop him." And he grabs Green Goblin's glider to kill him because, obviously he killed Aunt May. It's such a powerful moment when Toby goes up there and grabs the glider as he's going down to kill him with the sharp knives that are on the glider. And he's like, "You don't want to do it." And they both throw it down, and then he stabs Tobey Maguire. The Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire, and I thought he was going to die. I was like, no. I was like, my entire childhood, don't do it, but he ended up not dying, but it was really cool. And but then Doctor Strange, he's back. He came to help and all that, and he's like, "I don't know what to do." And Peter's like, "Just make everybody forget who I am." And he's like, "Can you do that?" And he's like, I can do it. I'm not doing it, though, because I won't know who you are, and I won't know what we went through, and your friends won't know, and no one will know. And he's like, I want to save the universe. All these villains coming in, we're not going to be able to stop them. He's like, "Do it." And then you see, it shows up, and you see, like, Rhino. It's the only one I can make out. I'm going to go see it again and really look, but all I saw was Rhino, but there was a bunch of different characters. I made out a guy with a staff, and all that bunch of different characters coming through the portal, or coming through the sky and all that. But he ends up doing the spell, and no one knows who he is. It's just a really, really sad and kind of depressing ending for such an amazing movie. But he ends up, he tells MJ the moment that he has with Ned and MJ, telling them, "You're not going to know who I am anymore." Such a sad moment, and it really, really hit me. I was teary-eyed. It's just like, the boy's been through so much. I mean, he fought Thanos. He, fought Captain America. He fought Thanos. He fought freaking, he saved the universe. Brought everybody back, and it's just so, it's sad, and it's like, man, the boy's been through so much. It's just such a young age. He's only 17 years old, and that really hit me. But him telling MJ, I'm gonna, she's like, "You better find me," and the whole movie she's working at a coffee shop, and he ends up, no one knows who he is, and he has a letter ready for her. He goes in there, and he sees MJ's working there, and she looks at him, and she kind of gives him a wave, and he's like, and you think, oh, maybe she knows who he is, and you see Ned walk in, and her and Ned are good friends still, and he just orders a coffee, and he decides not to give her the letter because he can hear them talking about how they all got into MIT. That was the big thing in the beginning of the movie. They all couldn't get into MIT, and it was because of Peter being outed as Spider-Man, and they were all connected to it, so none of them could actually get into MIT. But they got in because they didn't know who he was, and he just was like, oh, well, they're happy, and he basically just leaves it at that. But he gets his own apartment because obviously, Aunt May's gone and all that now, and it's really cool. He ends up making his own suit for the first time, and it's this really cool, like, 1990 Spider-Man suit. It's got it looks like Spider-Man, and he just looked really cool, and he swung through the city in the dark, and it's just a really bright blue on there. And it kind of reminded me of both the Spider-Man suits. It looked like Tobey's Spider a little bit, and it looked like it was kind of all shaped like Andrew Garfield's. And it was really, really cool looking. And it's really cool to, now people can stop saying, that he's just Iron Man Jr., because he did his own thing in this movie. And now he's just going to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for the first time and try to rekindle his relationship with MJ and Ned and all that. And I want more, and I cannot wait. But I'm going to talk about the two post-credit scenes now. The first one, I was like, whoa, I'm disappointed when it first happened, because I was like, oh my gosh, Venom never showed up. And I do think that was kind of a misstep a little bit, with, at least on Sony's part with Venom. I was like, okay, well, he wasn't even in the movie. Why did he lick the TV and be like, oh, I gotta get that guy? He wasn't even in the movie. But the whole entire time they, were in that universe. They got sucked into the universe. They sat at a bar trying to figure out where the hell they are and talking to this guy. And they're sitting there, and it's a really funny moment. He's like, so there's a big purple guy that came, and you guys fought him. He's an alien. And he snapped everybody away. Like, alright. He's like, aliens are not like that. He's like, aliens are big and gooey. And, and he's like, snapped my entire family away. He's like, who are you talking to? These guys the bartenders getting all mad and stuff. And he's like, well, I guess I'm going to go figure out who this Peter Parker is. And he stands up, and he's like, oh, and he starts fading away. And I was kind of like, what? I looked over at my cousin, and I was like, what the hell was that? I'm like, that was so stupid. But then you see a little bit of the symbiote land on the ground, and they're gone. So we got Venom in the MCU, and that's really awesome. How were they gonna do it though? Like, we can't crack open the multiverse to get Tom Hardy back, and I really love him as Venom, and I'm just like, how's this gonna work? I mean, you better get somebody really good to play Venom, because Tom Hardy kills that role. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. I'm just excited that Venom's in the universe, But then we get to the second post-credit scene, and it's just basically a Doctor Strange trailer. And looks like, I'm not going to get too into it, but I'm not going to get too far into it, but it really looks like that Peter and Doctor Strange, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange really messed up a lot of stuff, and it looks like he's getting help from Wanda and all that, but it looks really badass. But for my score for this movie, I'm going to give it a 98%. I don't see a lot wrong with this movie, and it is definitely one of the best MCU movies and one of the best superhero movies that I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, it was very fan servicey. I don't care. This movie was amazing, and I will definitely be going to see this again soon. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Nelson Reviews. Follow me on Letterboxd at Nelson48. Peace out.